Welcome to the Love What You Do podcast. I'm Kelly Dugan, former HR executive turned career coach, and I'm here each episode sharing tips and tricks to help you discover your unique value, leverage your personal brand, and take action to create a career you love. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I am so excited to be here today. We have a special guest with us. Brianna, thank you for joining us on the Love What You Do podcast. Brianna Bellavia, you are a Stamford area real estate agent, and I have to say, an incredible example of what happens when preparation meets opportunity, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. It's like really an honor.
Oh, thank you. This is going to be great. I can't wait to dive into your career story. We've had a chance to catch up a little bit before this podcast recording, and I am just so impressed with what you have done with your career. And I think there's so much that people can learn about your story. So why don't you just start by giving us a little bit of an intro into what you do now and how you got here?
Sure. So what I do now is now I'm a full-time real estate agent. And if you asked me a year ago, I would never have imagined that that is what I'd be saying here today. But that's what I am. How this all started was really this goes back to maybe 2017 or 2018. After I graduated college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. One of my friends became a realtor. I sat down and talked with her about it, and it seemed really interesting. But, life happens, and that kind of became something that was just in the back burner, always a thought in the back of my head. And I got a job at, I got a job at Indeed, and I was there for 5 years in their customer service department. But when COVID hit, a lot of us had time on our hands again. And so I thought, why don't I revisit that real estate idea that I had and just get the license? And I did not plan on leaving the job or anything. I loved what I did, the team that I worked with. I thought, if anything, I was focused more on like, I want to build my wealth. And I know real estate is a really great opportunity to do that. So I'm also very education based. So I'm like, okay, if I want to be an investor in the future in some way, maybe having a real estate license is a good idea so that I know what I'm
Yeah.
doing. That was really my original thought. And maybe I'll do it on the side here or there. Why not? So I got my license and I didn't do anything with it. I had it like in my back pocket. I got it November of 2023. And then May 2024, my entire department got laid off. And I was like, it's so funny because the months leading up to the layoff, which it's not like I saw the writing on the wall. So I just decided to prepare for this. Like it was such a shock to us. But those months leading up, I started to dive a little bit more into real estate. I was listening to this podcast called Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I was hearing these people's stories. I was like, wow, like this sounds great, and I really want to explore, but I don't know how I'm going to have time to to work on this.
Yeah.
And when I got the like email that my job was laid off, I immediately knew that there was a reason for it. Like I came out and I FaceTimed my mom, and the words out of my mouth were, "I'm a full-time real estate agent." And she was like, "What does that mean?" And then I was like,
Connect
"Oh, I
those
got
dots for me. What happened? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, I got laid off." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Okay." And I just haven't looked back. So after getting laid off, I decided to dive all into this.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So, what do you think held you back? Well, and maybe held you back is the wrong word, but I love what you mentioned around you heard about it. It was on the back burner, but it wasn't a path that you took immediately.
Yeah.
Why didn't you jump into it right away, do you think?
I was so scared. I enjoyed my job. Like, I don't think like, I wasn't unhappy there. So I was like, "Why would I leave this solid, insurance, a consistent paycheck, working with great people to try something that I've never done before? Like, how am I gonna tell my dad that?"
Yeah.
And so I wish I could say that I was brave enough to take the jump on my own and that I was like, I just went for it myself. No, like I really had this like divine push and opportunity on a silver platter that I was like, okay, this opportunity is kind of like hitting me in the face. I can't ignore it. But that was why I felt like I got the opportunity to be able to do it within reason, but I was really scared.
Yeah. How do you think that moment of being laid off would have been different if you didn't already have that license in your back pocket?
Stressful.
Yeah.
Um, I think I tend to be a positive person as it is, but because I already have it, I was able to be so optimistic about it. I do think regardless, I would have been like, okay, this is an opportunity to reevaluate and really think about like what's moving forward. Because when you're laid off and you've been in a routine, like it's crazy to go from 5 years of doing almost the same thing to
Yeah.
then waking up and be like, what do I do today?
Yeah.
All of these things that I've been working on are just gone, and now I'm, like, starting completely from scratch. I still think I would have taken the time to reevaluate because it makes you realize that life is short and, like, this is an opportunity that not a lot of people get.
Yeah. I could not agree with you more. And I love your mindset of looking at that as an opportunity. And, what I shared at the top of the podcast is like, I really do think you're an amazing example of that famous quote of, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Um, we all are the drivers of our own careers. And very, very often, that does not necessarily mean we get to choose when we leave an organization, especially in this climate. There are layoffs happening every day. But it doesn't mean that we cannot do things in preparation to be able to safeguard ourselves, and to put ourselves in the position to be in the driver's seat. And I think you're an incredible example of what that can look like, when it comes to something like getting a real estate license or having some kind of a side hustle. When what during COVID really put you over the finish line to say, like, you know what, I am going to get this license? Like, what was the calling for you? Because I'm sure there was probably a financial investment, there's a time investment. What made you prioritize that?
Honestly, my family has a big impact on me, so my dad, he, like he was a big motivator for me. Some people really are into cars. My dad is into his house. Like growing up, he not a big person that watches a lot of television. He watched like 3 channels, the news, and the other one being like HGTV.
Oh
So
my God,
I
love
was
that.
spending a lot of time with them because I lived with my parents. So we're having a lot of these conversations. And he was the one actually, I think, to re-bring up the idea because it's something we had mentioned before, and it's one of those topics that, like, we share in common, and
Uh-huh.
so I don't know if he was the one that mentioned it, and I was like, "You know what? You're right, like, what else am I doing?" And I'm someone that, like, I don't like to waste time in a way, so I'm like, "Okay,
Mhm.
I try to work smarter, not harder, and be more efficient with my time and make opportunities when I can." So I'm like, "You're right. This is a time where we're kind of all stuck. Um,
Mhm.
might as well do something with it if I can. And who knows where it's going to take me. If anything, I'm just getting the knowledge for myself, but um,
Yeah.
you just don't know. I'd rather
Yeah.
have the opportunities and like be able to be prepared for opportunities that open up than not, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I absolutely love that example of it. Sometimes it's what feels like this really random thing that you're doing. You're like, this is just something that it interests me now. Maybe it'll be useful one day. Maybe it won't. But was a key to helping you make a major transition in your life later on that at that time you never could have predicted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So crazy. So what have been some of the challenges that have come with making the shift, right? Like it was you woke up one day and your reality changed. And like I said, love that mindset shift of I'm a full-time realtor now. But I'm sure that did come with some challenges and some mindset work that had to happen. What did those first weeks look like for you, and or even months?
Yeah, it was a huge adjustment to go from, okay, this is what you do from 8 to 5 every day. Here are your clients. That's probably a big one. Here are I had a book of clients, to going from like I'm building something from scratch. And I knew real estate was going to be hard. I never thought that realtors had it easy. but I didn't realize just the levels to it. You're really truly building a business in all
Yeah.
aspects. So the first one was the industry shift to go from being in tech to now being in this real estate realm. There's just different, almost like a different language that you have to learn.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then there's, finding clients, marketing yourself, staying organized. How do you, and balancing between building this business and making connections with people and also finding the time to organize all of that. Okay, great. I've met these people. Where am I going to stay in contact with them? How am I going to stay organized and know to follow up? And what are my different tools that I'm going to use?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so much. And I do think that's something that, unless you are a real estate agent, you may not realize of what goes into that career path of, yeah, it is the selling houses, but more so it's relationship building, it
Mhm.
seems to me from the outside looking in, right?
Yeah, everyone approaches it a little different, but that is the way I approach it. It is a relationship, like, that's what it is. It's like dating in a way. You're about to make the biggest purchase of your life, and it could be now or it could be years from now, and so
Mhm.
you wanna work with someone that you like, know, and trust, and you're gonna be spending a lot of time with them, so I like to approach it that way where you're just, yeah, building something and building trust.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So, how has having a personal brand factored into your story? Because, like, one of the things that you're sharing right there around, the importance of relationships for you, that's something that as a career coach, I would say is fundamental to your unique value and the personal brand that you put out there. How has it been kind of building that personal brand in the community and getting this message out there?
It's been fun. I love it. It is, I've taken it as a way where, like I said, this industry and the way I work
Mhm.
with clients is about building a relationship. So I try to do it in the way that's like my most authentic self. Like I want people to
Mhm.
know who it is that they're working with. And so that's really just what I've been doing, trying to share content out there that lets you know about who I am. So if you make the decision to work with me, you know what kind of person I am, but then also educational as well. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now, is that something that you did, like, kind of that personal brand thinking? Is that something that you did in your corporate life, or is that something that you've really had to learn and implement now that you are working for yourself?
I knew how much brand was important I worked for Indeed. We were the number 1 job
Yeah.
company. And so that holds weight. Like I could see,
Yeah.
people. Even I was in their customer service department, but I would tell people, "Oh, I work at Indeed." They're like, "Oh, I know that place." Like, everyone knows it. So I know that having a name and then having a, oh, what's the word? Oh my goodness.
A presence or
Yeah, presence or, ooh, I guess it's present like, reputation. Sorry. Okay.
there we go. Yes.
Okay, sorry. So
No, yeah, absolutely.
working from Indeed and realizing, like, when I would tell people I work at Indeed, they would immediately recognize that name, and so I knew that having a name and also a reputation was really important, and
Yeah.
that is so I kind of learned it from there, but then also when I made the transition into real estate, we've had a really great coaching program at my office, and I've learned a lot there. I go to a lot of classes, and so they talked about building your brand, and that's where it started to really click and understand, and that you have to, yeah, you have to make a name for yourself because it's real estate is not like buying clothes. People aren't going to need it all the time, but when someone does need it, you want to be the person hopefully that they think about, or at least one of the first few people that they think about.
Mhm.
So even if you're not looking right now, but you just start to see my name or see my face, or we have a connection and we start to build a relationship, then maybe when that time comes, you'll think of me.
Mhm. Absolutely. I that's such a really great point about real estate. Yeah, that it is you're only making that transaction handful of times in your lifetime. And for a lot of people, you're maybe making that transaction with the same person, And so it's how do you put your personal brand out there so that when people are doing this in the area for the first time, or they're switching real estate agents, that you are someone that they are attracted to. I'm absolutely fascinated by personal brand for so many reasons, because I think it's really why people connect with people. And when I started my business and started really thinking about personal brand in an intentional way, I had this realization of like, wow, do I wish I had been doing this the whole time? Because I don't know if you relate to this at all, but I think it's so beneficial for everyone, whether you own a business or not, to invest in your personal brand, because at the end of the day, like a personal brand, I think, is a huge part of like finding opportunity and attracting opportunity for
Yeah.
yourself. Did you have that experience a little bit?
I do, and actually now that, you say it that way, at Indeed too, they would talk about personal brand a lot because I had my job, but then I would also try to find other opportunities and different ways to build out my skill set just so I never want an opportunity to come and I not be able to take it because I didn't like you're right, like, you build up
Yeah.
your name and then people get to know you and then people think of you too for those other opportunities, not just in real estate, but just, like, anything. Whether,
Yeah.
once they know who you are or your work ethic and the different skills that you have, like, yeah, it goes further back than that. I don't even think I realized that until this moment.
Oh my gosh, I know. I had a similar realization, and when you're doing this, because when we're working to build our businesses, right, you're thinking very much of the now. But yeah, I'm like, wow, things that I wish I had done, throughout my career, that could have been really beneficial. Um, if- so if I'm going to kind of flip that perspective on its head, what are some things that you did pick up from Indeed and in all of that personal development that you did, that have helped you succeed in real estate?
Yeah. I A lot of it is almost like the organization and the systems. I have this edge because I came from a tech-based company and learned all these different skills. I didn't realize how many were gonna be transferable into this. So, the different systems and tools and realizing like I have a Google Sheet for almost all of my clients, like, not everyone has that.
Yeah.
I have the customer service experience, like, even though it's different, it's the same in a way. Like, I've been taught how to try to give someone a five-star experience for the last 5 years, and so I've just shifted that mindset to here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that there's so many things that we pick up in all different facets of our career that help us be successful where we are down the line. I always say, like, I feel like careers are like dominoes, but they only make sense when you're looking in reverse. Like when you're walking through it, you don't really know where the trail is going, but
Yeah,
all of a sudden you're like, oh, if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't happen, and I wouldn't have learned this, and then I wouldn't have been good at this.
exactly, exactly. When one of the other skills too was I was part of a program, like a volunteer program that was kind of going and building from the grass up when I was at Indeed, and so I got to work with someone who was basically like a program manager, and I'd never seen anything like that, and I saw, like, his whole blueprint for this program and the sheet that he had and the timeline of, "Okay, first we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do this in the different phases," and that was probably one of the most impactful experiences and opportunities from
Wow.
Indeed that I learned from because now, like, I've shifted that to one, the real estate, like, planning in itself, but also even just, like, event planning and all the different there are just it's, more efficient ways to do things and break something down. Okay, here's the big idea, and here's how we're gonna break it down, and we're gonna delegate, and we're gonna make a timeline and move it to get from point A to point B.
Oh my gosh, you're speaking my language. I love a process. Like,
Yes, yes,
makes everything better. All of like the pretty sexy things that you see out there in the world that feel so effortless have so much process and effort behind
yeah.
it. And I yeah, that's an incredible example of that. So, what do you love most about being a realtor?
I love the freedom and I love getting to help people. It's funny because I don't work a typical 9 to 5, but at the same time, I work probably you probably understand as a business owner, we probably work more than 40 hours a week, just at different times.
Yep.
But I get to choose it, and I'm building something that is mine that no one could take away. I once the when I was laid off and it was kind of pulled out from under me, I was like, I don't like this feeling. I don't want someone to be able to do that again. I want to build something that's mine. And so
Mhm.
that's one of the things that I love about this is my brand and these are now my clients um and yeah, and the freedom to be able to, choose how I want to move and find clients and how I want to market myself. There's so many different opportunities and ways a realtor can build their business and I they say to choose what you're most passionate about. So I do things that I think are truly enjoyable and fun. I go to networking events because I like making connections with people. I host educational seminars because that is the type of person I am. This is the biggest decision of your life. If I'm making a big decision, I want to have all the information. I mean, that's why I got the license to begin with was I thought I will be a purchaser in the future and I wanted to have that education. So now I get to give that to other people. The social media, I mean, yeah, it's branding, it's putting my name out there, but again, I enjoy it. I like making these things and putting my name out there and showing people an inside look at my life with a mix of educational videos that might be 30 seconds, but someone just like learned something that they've never heard before. It's all stuff that I choose to do because I like it, and so I feel like I'm not really working. I almost feel like I feel bad in a way, but one of your first podcasts that I listened to, you said something about it's okay to love what you do and you're allowed to. I was like, "Okay, I needed to hear this because sometimes I feel guilty that I enjoy it so much."
Oh, I could not relate to you more in that. I will that was one of the biggest career realizations for me was like, wait a minute, like there doesn't have to be this like elephant in the room part of your career that like you just hate doing. Like you can like it all. And
Yeah.
we don't talk about that enough. And it's exactly why I started this podcast is to be able to talk to people like you who do love all of what they do. And I think it's such a great point just to remind people like it's possible. We've got a barking dog here. Oliver is I've got the door open for light, which also means Ollie can see everybody walking by outside. But anyway, what advice do you have, Bree, for anyone who is looking to break into the realtor career path?
My advice would be, and this isn't just actually specific to real estate, but that get over get over yourself and the mindset situation. It's still something that I'm dealing with every day and almost like multiple times a day. But one of the things that held me back in the beginning, like from jumping into this myself and when I was getting started, was, oh, well, why would someone choose me? Like there's
Mhm.
competition out there. There are other people that have been doing this longer than you, but you just have to remind yourself everyone started somewhere. Everyone started at point A. At some point, they were the newbies, and the longer you tell yourself that narrative and push it, the longer it's gonna be from you actually getting started and being able to build up that experience yourself, and so the quicker you can kind of just push through it and face it till you make it, the quicker then you'll be like, you'll now I'm looking at this, I'm having a conversation with you. A year later, I would have never thought that, and it's so wild to say, "Okay, Bree, you've had transactions, you have clients, you have a name for yourself." So that would be my biggest advice is as quickly as possible, try to get over that and figure out ways and people, a support system that will be there for you when you have those days, because that's been one of the most instrumental things for me when I am having those moments. They say you are like the 5 people you surround yourself with, so
Wow.
finding who those people are for you and sticking around them and sharing with them, is what I would suggest.
I love that. I know having that support system in anything that you break into, whether it is a business venture, whether it's a new job, whether you are really applying for a stretch position that you didn't think was possible, like being around people who are going to be true reflections of your capabilities and lift you up is so incredibly important. And I cannot echo more the importance of what you just shared around like do it messy, right? Like there is I and anything that I have wanted to do that made me a little bit uncomfortable, whether it was starting a business, becoming a parent, like you name it, I tried to think myself into figuring it all out so that I could do it and it would be perfect, right? And it's just the biggest lie that we tell ourselves. It's not possible. It
Yeah.
is not possible to avoid the mess and to avoid those days where you're like, what have I done? Who's going to hire me? Why am I even putting myself out there? Um, but the only way to do it is just to do it, because then you blink and it's a year later and here you are with a successful real estate business and you had to go through all of that muck to get here. And the when we're being really honest about ourselves, to ourselves, there is like through all of that muck is so much fun, right? And like so many high points. And
Yeah.
does that resonate with you too?
Absolutely, absolutely. Like if I didn't push through, I just had a closing a couple weeks ago with people that I had gone to high school with. I didn't have like a close relationship with them, but they saw what I was seeing and they messaged me. Like they came to me and now I helped them close on their house. We closed a week earlier than we were supposed to. They get married this weekend and it's in Stamford. And now I'm going to be able to drive by that road and say like, there's a family growing there. And
Yes.
I can't wait like years from now, they're going to renovate the house and everything. I'm going to be able to see like, wow, I saw this from the very beginning. And that's amazing. Like I would have missed that opportunity if I didn't do what I was doing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. Thank you so much for just sharing your perspective on real estate, sharing your perspective on career and opportunity. And I think you are just a glowing example of, how you can take a really rough situation and turn it into something beautiful. And I'm so excited for where your business is going to just continue to grow because you're at the very start of this. Like you've had such success in this first year. But I know it's just going to continue to come your way. So, how can people find you and reach out to you if they are looking for a realtor in the Stamford area?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, you can find me at brie.the.realtor. If you want to email me, you can email me at brie203@kw.com. So you can find me there. And yeah, yeah, you can find
All
me
right. Bree203. I love that. That is so
there.
catchy. And I will put all of that information down below in the caption of the podcast so that people can get in touch with you. But thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. This has been great.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate it. This has been so fun.
Thanks for joining me on today's episode. As always, if you're looking for coaching, support, or would like to submit a question, you can drop me an email at info@yourplaceatthetop.com. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review so this podcast can find its way to other amazing listeners just like you.